Hi, and welcome to Tuesdays with Tom. Today's topic is the word consistency. Most of the material and ideas from today's podcast can be found in the book Squeezed, found at tompabin.com. If today you hear a prompt that moves you, a phrase that grabs you, or some words, or maybe a quote that empowers you, then I ask that you would share this podcast with a friend. Hit that like button, subscribe, and if possible, leave a comment for others so they could see what you got out of today's podcast. Consistency 101. So let's start with the financial guru, a gentleman whose 7 books have sold over 11 million copies. He's the New York Times bestseller and whose phrases and that snowball philosophies have changed millions of lives. You may already know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Dave Ramsey. If you called his show today and asked him how he was doing, he would say, I'm doing better than I deserve. I've heard that wonderful sayings hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times over the dozens of years that I've listened to Dave. I've also heard people on his show scream, I'm debt free. The same phrase. And also, when he starts the show with Baker Street, that wonderful song that always started his shows. If you think about that advice and what he's given for over the last 30 years, right? Financial baby steps, debt snowball. There's been some small changes, but in general, he's always said the same advice. The point of his message is consistency. He became the country's foremost expert on personal debt and building wealth on his philosophies, his constant message, his firmness in his principles, and he was resolute in delivering them to the world. It got me thinking of what's consistency 101 for me. I know that how I am some of the time is how I am all the time. So let's talk about your business today. Let's talk about your philosophy today, that consistency. So let's start with hospitality, right? How are you delivering kindness in your business? That seems so weird, but it's so perfect. Kindness, hospitality, waving and a smile and that energy, right? That culture 101 sets everything that is about your business. How you follow up with people, how you take care of situations where a customer is not happy. That culture and that tone is important. But what's also important is marketing. I often would say, what cures all problems? Sales, right? Sales and cash flow cures a lot of problems. So, what's your consistency in marketing? How about communication? Is that something that you consistently talk to your customers about? Display that in your office? How about some consistency on learning? Is there a scheduled time in your life to improve? Maybe there's certain mornings or afternoons that you take some time off to schedule yourself to get better at whatever it is in your business that is lacking. I always would like to share a corporate library with our team, right? Just books and philosophies that I believed in. Some of those books were the greatest salesman in the world. Financial Peace was a great one by Dave Ramsey. The Go Giver, those are just kind of quality books that I felt like everybody in our industry would know and understand. So what books or what documents are in your corporate library? How about your core values? Right? When's the last time you looked at those core values, those standards, the standards 101 of your business? We love to deliver our meetings here in a level 10 meeting, or what's called EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, right? Invented by Gino Wickman. But again, if you get really good at that consistency of your messaging, your learning in EOS or level 10 meetings, and you can get a 10 in your meetings, then you're providing wonderful knowledge to your team, wonderful accountability and scorecards to your team. Thank you, Gino Wickman. And how about customer service? Does your customers know how much you appreciate them? Are you going to be there and do what's right when something happens that turns out wrong? Will you go above and beyond or do the normal stuff? What is your philosophy when it comes to business? I recently met with a very extremely successful restaurateur here in Lexington, Kentucky. He has now dozens of restaurants, and I flat out asked him, what is your number one reason for your success? Restaurant industry is so difficult, low margins. And he said the consistency of my steaks, of my food. He gets people to get and come 2, 3, 4 times a year. And if they have a favorite on the menu, they expect that meal to taste the same, whether it was last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And now for over 25 years, he's delivered his food, his products with extreme consistency. So when you think about it, Malcolm Gladwell, right, with the book Outliers, back in late 2008, came out with that book, and he talked about the 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours, 10,000 proper hours in a field or industry, and that would make somebody an expert. So he did the study. But let me say something. That study was done on chess players. That study was done on composers. That study was done on Olympic athletes, right? People at the very, very highest level of their industry. 10,000 hours. Now, Dave Ramsey is that. He's the expert. But it would take somebody full time, 5 years, full time, right, to gather up 10,000 hours. And to most of us, probably, right, that would seem discouraging. Can we do it? So here's the challenge. For the next 6 months, how about 101 hours for the rest of this year? 101 hours into your marketing. If you're in business, you want to improve your bottom line, your cash flow, what can you do to improve your marketing, your funnel? What can you add to that to be better? How about 101 hours of consistent reading? That corporate library, a book that moves you forward, and maybe even squeezed. How would you feel about life in your body if you exercised for 101, maybe more hours in the next 6 months? Maybe you can't exercise, but could you stretch for 101 hours? Or walk? Or run? How about home improvements? So there's some things around the house that can be done. 101 hours. In business, it's important to know our numbers, our data, our analytics. That becomes extremely important. So your finances. Imagine putting in 101 hours into your QuickBooks over the next 6 months. Would you know your numbers well? Would you know the pieces of your business that is making you the most money or not, or the people that are making you, right, are developing more to your bottom line. How about this one? And this one will make you rich. AI. Investing 101 hours into researching AI companies that you can invest in over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. You're welcome, financial advisors. But AI, it's the biggest boom coming, and many have already gotten rich by doing it. But 101 hours into AI researching companies would behoove you. And finally, prayers. 101 hours of prayers or extra prayers over the next 6 months. That'd make you feel better. And that would give you that peace. And if you're not strong enough to accomplish these items alone, it's okay. Many of us are not. Some of these things are our resolutions that we start the year with. If you're not strong enough, that's okay. Get somebody else in your life. Get somebody else that maybe you can pay for their time, like a trainer or an accountant to help you. That's going to get somebody that's going to contribute to your 101 hours. So don't ask for life or business to be easier. Ask yourself to get better with some consistency this week.